Hello, my name is Cameron Ayler, and today for my MECH 2401 class, I'm going to be showing you how to model this part right here in SolidWorks. So let's get started by choosing a new part. And once we're loaded up, the first thing we're going to want to do is make a base sketch that all of our other features are going to be built onto. So if we take a look at the front sketch we're given, and we remove all the details from it, so the circles, the spots where the two things in the front jut out, and we're also going to remove the two curves that are just below the center of the big circle to the left and right. If we remove all those, we're left with a rectangle on the bottom, another rectangle on top of that, and an arc on top of that. So that's what we're going to build first. So we're going to select the front plane, go normal 2, and start a sketch. And we're going to use a center rectangle because we're going to use a little trick to line everything up later. So we're going to go center rectangle right on the center there, and then we are going to go and pick a corner rectangle, and we're going to put that in there. Dimensions here don't matter right now because we're going to use the Smart Dimension tool later on. And we're going to use a tangent arc right across like that. We're using a tangent arc because we want the ends of that arc to be tangent to the rectangle. Okay, now we can start smart dimensioning things. So let's start here. The length of this rectangle, if we look at the front sketch, is 140 millimeters. And the height is 56. And we can see that the radius of this arc is 35. And we also get a measurement from the center of the circle, the big circle, to the base of the big rectangle. And we can see that the center of that big circle is actually going to be right where the center of this arc is. So we can pick that point and the base of the rectangle, and we can put that in as 76 millimeters. Okay, so now we get our basic shape here, but we need to fix a couple of things, because you can see these lines here are blue, which means that they are not well defined. So we're going to make sure they're well defined, because right now they can move left and right. There's nothing constraining it to be at the center here. So we're going to go and make a center line from the center of the base of the big rectangle vertically up as far as we want. It doesn't overly matter. Then we're going to select the center of the arc, shift click on the center line there, and we're going to add a coincident relation right there. And what that's going to do is that's going to move everything over, and you can see now it is all the lines are black, and it is now a well-defined sketch. And now we're going to trim out all the extra geometry that we don't need. Good. And you can see that is our base model right there. So we're going to go to features, we're going to extrude that. We're going to extrude it 30 millimeters, just like that. Okay, and you can see that from the top sketch there. So now that we got this, what we're going to do is we're going to get the holes again that we omitted in the original sketch, just because this will make it a little bit cleaner. So we're going to click on the front, and we're going to go normal 2, and we're going to start a new sketch. We're going to use center lines again just to line everything up. We're going to do one right across from one edge of the tangent arc to the other. And we're going to do another center line from the top all the way down to the bottom, right through the middle. And you can see right where those two lines intersect, that is where that big circle is going to be, because that's where the center of the arc was. And we can make that. And then we're going to dimension that out, and that is 40 millimeters. Great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start working on the other two circles. So first we're going to just take a circle and we're going to place it anywhere, doesn't overly matter. And we can then see that from the top sketch, those two circles are going to be of a diameter of 10. So we're going to put that in. And from the front sketch, we can see that they're up 28 units, so we can do that as well. And the other thing that we get is that the two holes are 108 millimeters apart. And what we can also take that as they are 54 millimeters from the center line. So we can select the center line and select the center of that circle, and they are 54 millimeters. Good. And if we take a look at the top sketch and the front sketch, we can see that this thing is it is symmetrical right along the center line here. So what we can actually do is we can go and click on the Mirror Entities button, click on that circle, and we can mirror it about that center line. And what that's going to do is it's going to put it the same distance from the center line as this one, and the same distance up as this one, right on the other side. So that just saved us a bunch of time because we don't have to dimension all that out on our own. It did it for us. Okay, then we're going to go back to features, and we're going to do a extruded cut. And we're going to select a through all, and hit OK. And there we go. Now we get our holes through the base part. So next we're going to re-add those curves that we got rid of in our base sketch. And the way we can do that is with a fillet. So we're going to click on the fillet tool. We're going to make sure we've got a face fillet selected, and we're going to click on this face, and switch to the second one, and click on that one. And you can see right there, we have a fillet, but in our front sketch, we can see that the radius of that is supposed to be 15 millimeters. So we can set that to 15 and hit OK. And there we go. That is that curve reintroduced, and we can do the same thing on the other side. Once again, 15 millimeters, and good. Okay, so now the only thing we have left is those two pieces that jut out of the front. And this is where making that center rectangle right on the origin is so very important, because it makes this super easy. If we look at the right plane, we can see that actually cuts right through the origin. And that's going to help us line everything up later. So we're going to go normal to that, and we're going to extend it out a bit. Good. And now if we take a look at the right sketch, we can see that we start off with a line at the bottom here going out 40 millimeters. Again, we're not going to worry about dimensions just yet. And then we're going to throw a tangent arc there, because there's a bit of an arc. And we're going to use a tangent arc because we want it to be tangent to this line here. And then we're going to have a line that comes up like this, and back down. So that's our basic shape there, and now we can start dimensioning everything out. So like I said, this is 40 millimeters. This line here, again from the right sketch, we can see is 45 millimeters. And we can see that the radius of this arc is 10 millimeters. Okay, so now we're almost done with this, but you can see there's a bit of a crease here. And the way to fix that up is we just need to make this arc tangent to this line. So we click on the line, shift-click on the arc, and we have the tangent relation. You can see it's all set up there. Perfect. Now we're going to add the circle into the middle as well. And we're putting that right at the center point of the arc, so that is now stationary there. And we're going to dimension the radius of that. If we take a look at the top sketch, we can see that it has a diameter of 10. So we're going to put that in. And there we go. So now all we have to do is go back to Features and Extrude. Now you've got a couple of options here. Again, you can see it's coming right from the center. So you can do a mid-plane extrude right there. And what that's going to do is it's going to extrude in both directions. And you can extrude, again, if you look at the top plane, or the top view, you can see that there is 40 millimeters of dead space and then 15 millimeters of extrusion on each side. So what you could do is you could extrude the full 70 millimeters, and then you could make a cube of some sort and use a Boolean operation to get rid of the center. That's one option. The other option, which we're actually going to do, is we're going to switch this to offset, and we're going to offset that 20 millimeters, because again, we got 40 millimeters of dead space, 15 millimeters of extrusion on each side. Another way of thinking about that is 20 millimeters of extrusion, or of dead space, and then 15 millimeters of extrusion each way. So we're going to offset it by 20 millimeters, and we're going to extrude the 15 millimeters like that, and you can see that puts it exactly where we want it for one side. Okay. And then we're going to go back to that same sketch, and we're going to extrude again, except this time we're going to switch the direction of both the offset and the direction of the extrude. And again, we're going to do this for 20 millimeters and 15 millimeters. And there we go. So as you can see, we now have the sketch that was requested in the diagram. Everything is to the right dimensions. And yeah, that is how you make that part in SolidWorks.